Okay, and it looks like the broadcast is live. Welcome everybody to the Pure Bookkeeping and the Profit First panel, first of 3 panels that we're going to be hosting on Facebook on both pages, and we'll just give it a moment to let people find us. We've had a number of people respond and say, double checking where exactly they can see this panel. There's lots of people that are interested, looking to find out more. So in terms of how it's going to work today is we've got 3 panelists, and Katrina's joined me as well from Pure, who is the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping. And we've got so much to discuss. It's going to be an awesome conversation to find out more about these amazing women that are on the panel. If we could just take a moment, I'd love you to each introduce yourself. I'd love to start with you, Katrina. Tell us who you are and what you do and that sort of thing, because we love everything that you stand for, and then we can move around.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for inviting us. So I had a bookkeeping business for over 15 years and sold it and went into the space of mentoring bookkeepers. And I actually became a pure bookkeeping licensee in 2011 when I could not systemize my business, or I could not make a decision of what to do. Like, I was just procrastinating, stuck in inability to make decisions and move forward. So the pure bookkeeping system made it easier for me to make decisions and keep following a step-by-step process. So implementing that, growing my business, selling my business, and then becoming a mentor. So I love this space. I love working with bookkeepers because with the personality and the traits of a bookkeeper are just so special. So it's lovely to work with bookkeepers that just have a lot of passion for their clients as well. And often we find a lot of bookkeepers forget about looking after themselves as well. So it's something that we have the opportunity to say, step back. What are you wanting to do? What's your vision? What's your purpose? So I became the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping a couple of years ago to, help licensees and also help when we're doing these type of sessions, helping the bookkeeping industry in general, and just you're making them aware of the potential of what bookkeepers can do and what you can do for yourself and for your own business.
I love that. And really, it is the evolution of identifying as just a bookkeeper to whatever your goal and dream is. So I love that. Thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait to delve a little bit further into pure bookkeeping. I'd love to ask Tracy to introduce herself, let us know who you are, what your business is, and if you have a niche.
I am Tracy Brockhoff from Nourish Your Numbers. I've been operating my business since about 2014. I help women in business achieve their business and prosperity goals, either through one-on-one coaching or a combination of coaching and bookkeeping services. I'm based in Kingston in the southeast, which is a little rural town in South Australia, and I work mainly with women in the VA or the online service industry.
Brilliant. Can I just say, love that statement of what you stand for. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for being here. Caroline, I'd love to find out who you are and what you do.
Right. Well, I'm Caroline Smith from Jack Adder Business Consulting. I started my business in 2008 after I got fed up of my corporate career as an IT project manager. And I was meant to be helping people improve their processes, but that turned out to be they needed help with finances. So gradually my business morphed into being a bookkeeping business. So I then discovered Pure Bookkeeping in 2011, and IT is full of methodologies, so that just spoke to me so much. And I at last knew that I was doing the right thing by having Pure Bookkeeping behind me. When I started, I was dealing with male professionals because that's what I was used to, but now I'm morphing towards dealing with female entrepreneurs who are creative thinkers. So I help them with both bookkeeping and with making profits out of their business.
Beautiful. What a change from the IT corporate male to now the creative thinking females. Wow.
Yes.
It must have been quite the journey.
It is a journey. It's still happening, but it's a great journey.
Awesome. Fantastic. And Kim, love to find out a bit more about you. Please let us know who you are, what you do.
Sure, thank you. I'm Kim from Savvy Office Solutions. I've been a bookkeeper BAS agent for quite a long time, but I started my business in 2009, and over the years my business has really morphed into lots of different things. I started with pretty much every industry, dealing with every software that you could possibly use, and had staff as well, and grew very quickly, and then downsized, and then did all the things pretty much. And I started with pure bookkeeping in 2012, I believe. It might have been late 2011. So that's always been part of my processes, really. So, which has been wonderful to have as, you know, the basis of everything. So, and I'm sure we'll go into that in more detail. But yeah, so over the years, everything has changed for me with the business. And I probably now still deal with a whole lot more in the health and wellness industry, but I still do have clients in lots of different industries, but I am definitely more with health and wellness, and definitely only deal with the blue zero now. Don't do all the things anymore. So very happy to only have the one thing to deal with. And we made that decision, I think it would have been about 2014. So we've been part of Xero for a very long time and went straight with Xero, stopped all other programs. So that's been my journey.
Awesome. And I guess you all joined Profit First Professionals at different, times in your business and that sort of thing. I'd love to just touch on potentially when you first started as a Profit First Professional, and whether that's contributed to that journey of all the things or the evolution, really. Feel free to jump in and let's make this a bit of a conversation.
Well, I can't remember when I started, but it was before Profit First Australia existed. So I was working with the US with very strange times to get coaching. But, that was a bit exciting too. So what was the rest of the question? Sorry, I've lost it already.
That's okay. So you've made huge changes from obviously the IT male to now the creative female thinkers. Where has that come from?
Okay, so that has come from one of my reasons for leaving my corporate job, which was a nice, well-paying job. I just took the great leap because I got fed up of being that girl in IT. And who is she to tell me what to do? Now, my special skills is in understanding what a business is doing and seeing what they can do to improve it. So I can actually go in with no knowledge of an area, ask the right questions, and find out and work out what needs to be done. But then a lot of the male professionals I was working with would then say, well, if I do what she says, then it makes me look bad, instead of taking credit for the results. So I was constantly doing work, and then nothing would happen as a result of it. And so when I found Profit First, and I got through reading the book almost in one sitting, and I was so excited. I realized that the male professionals I was working with for my bookkeeping were going to be exactly the same and not listen to me, and that I needed to find a different market of people who were interested in making change. And I've always been a creative person as well as being really good at maths. And so working with creative people, and particularly creative thinkers that just have a problem and then come up with an unusual solution, is just very energizing for me. So that's why I've made the switch.
Love it. Thanks so much. And I guess, Kim, you've said you've done all the things in terms of your bookkeeping journey and that sort of stuff. Would you say that systems are the underpinning of allowing you to do all the things, or what's changed for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout my process, my whole thing has always been from the very start of making the complex simple. Because when I was going through with my bookkeeping clients, for them understanding what was happening in their business, getting them into online programs for the start was the hardest thing. So having processes and procedures behind me that I could use with my staff, making sure we're all doing the work the same way, meant that I could always deliver great results for the client. And then going through that process with PB and being part of that community and having all those resources meant that I could always rely on what I was delivering. And then with that, over the years, I was like, something's still missing. I still can't quite convey the information I need to convey. Like, eyes would glaze over talking about profit and losses and balance sheets. And I'm like, but numbers are sexy. Why are you not finding this exciting? Like, this is great news here. And so as when I found the book, like the book had, Profit First book had somehow landed in my lap. It had come into my radar about 3 or 4 times. I went, okay, I really need to read this because it just keeps popping up. So I read it and went, oh, this is like a no-brainer. So I started to implement it in my own business and went, this is the piece of the tool that I'm missing to be able to make this complex area of discussing finances really simple with my clients. So again, it's a big circle of evolution of having the processes and procedures and allows the work to be done properly to be able to discuss it, and then it continually goes around and around and around. So that's how I've found having both PB and being a Profit First professional has really helped me to engage with my clients better and just know that the work that's being done either by myself or my staff or who I've got doing the work, it's guaranteed to be correct because we follow these systems. So, yeah.
How's your role changed since, if you can remember, when you first became a pure bookkeeping licensee or first started your business and you were so, heavy in the systems? So you put staff on now and you've systemized and now you're going into advisory. How has your role changed and what's that transition been like for you to move from that bookkeeper space over to advisory, and what impact has had on you and your life?
It probably looks a little bit similar to a BMX track, to be honest. I feel like sometimes I go around in circles and over the humps and, under the tires and all sorts of crazy things, because that process itself has been insane. Like when we first started, it was myself and my business partner, and I loved it. I loved the numbers. I was doing all the things myself. It was great. And then I went, I'm tired. I need a break. I need staff. I can't take a break with these payrolls never ending. And so putting staff on really quickly, like we went from having just the 2 of us to 5 people in 18 months and tripling our workload as well. And so that then led me into a very quick lesson of you now need to manage staff and the constant interruptions that come with that, and then trying to get your own work and still loving the numbers then. And then over the years, getting to the point where you go, maybe I don't quite love doing the bookkeeping as much as I used to. And I'm quite happy for someone else to do it, and I get to discuss the end result. So that has definitely been quite the journey. And there's some days that I'm still in the trenches doing the bookkeeping, and then there's other days or other weeks where I'm completely in an advisory role and just doing all the high level communications with my clients. And I do really love that now. I really don't quite enjoy, I just hate the BAS cycle. I'm just putting it out there. The BAS cycle does my head in, and I feel like this little window right now of the next 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks of going, oh my God, it's downtime. Yay. That's all we get for the year. So I'm happy to let the bookkeeping side go. So it really depends on where you're at in your business, I think, when you start to get burnt out on those doing the do's numbers all the time, because, yeah, it does get a bit wary after the years. Does that?
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine it's a lot more rewarding now being able to do a lot of the advisory stuff.
I love having a conversation with a client and seeing the light in their eyes when they get it. Yeah. And you go, oh, it's magic. It's nice to be able to see that and see them achieving their goals and being able to go further with them than you ever can just trying to advise on bookkeeping. Like, that's not just, because it's a big thing still. I'm not dismissing that in any way, but definitely being able to get that reward that your clients are getting it and that they're kicking goals. It's just the ripple effect, basically. That's totally what fills my pot up every day. Yeah.
It's a great story. Yeah, I love that story. And it's very typical of a lot of bookkeepers are sitting in the doing and the technician and the systems and not having the opportunity or the ability to see that they can actually put staff on and systemize so that they can move on into the advisory space, which is where a lot of bookkeepers, want to get into, give more service to their clients.
Yeah, but it can be a really scary step, scary step to go, I have to put trust in someone else that they're going to do the work the way that I do it. And that's where having PB and having your processes and procedures and having that library of information that you can come back to. And the same with Profit First Professionals, is having that great community of people that you can discuss with and have the really open and honest conversations and delve into things and not feel like you're asking silly questions, because I think sometimes we take for granted thinking that we should know everything. But we can't know everything. You are constantly learning, and especially in the industry that we're in, there's so much to learn. And last year and this year with COVID and all the things that happened with COVID and the roles that we had to take on part of that, and, the counselling roles, and having those communities was absolutely what got me through, definitely, with being able to reach out. And I even know over the years, Katrina, I've reached out to you to help. I'm sinking in my business. I really need some help to get through this. I can't see, because I'm in the thick of it. And having someone to be able to be part of that journey with you and see it from the outside and help you to step back, to take a breath, to then go, oh, there's options. This is what that might look like. Let's have a think about that and brainstorm that. That's gold. You need to have your own business, cheer squad. And I think both PB and Profit First Professionals offer that.
Especially a lot of bookkeepers don't know how to move into advisory. So it's good to have that community of advisory. There's a lot of advisory groups around bookkeeping, or a lot of Facebook groups around bookkeeping, but not so much around advisory. So to have that opportunity of Profit First, to be able to get that support and that learning and the IP that Profit First has, is just a natural transition once you've grown your business, systemized it, to move into that advisory space and get the next level of support. I love it.
Absolutely. And I think both Caroline and Tracy have spent a lot of time moving into that advisory space and that pull of having to come back because you realize something isn't quite working as well as that you thought it was, and then spending more time in the advisory too. And I'd love to hear from Tracy first and then Caroline, what has your journey looked like? And do you believe that you're an advisor? Are you an advisor to your clients?
I'll answer the last part first. Absolutely, I believe I'm an advisor to my clients. My journey has been a little bit similar, I suppose, to Kim's and Caroline's. And I think I joined Profit First 2 years ago now. And about 6 months before that, I was over bookkeeping. I had those problem clients coming out of my ears. I was stuck in the day-to-day data entry. I didn't feel that I was giving my clients any actual value by just doing what I saw as data entry, and that's important. Like, the figures have to be right, but that extra value and what my clients needed. I'm in a little country town, and we're very seasonal. So in summer, lots of cash around. In winter, there's absolutely no cash. There's no locals. There's no anything. So my local clients really struggled through those periods. And I was ready to pretty much go and stack supermarket shelves or do something else. I spent a couple of weeks just taking time to think about actually what I wanted out of my business and what I wanted to provide for my clients. From there, I rebranded my business and became a profit first professional and made that step into advisory, pretty much designing that business that I loved, one that I wanted to work in every day instead of one that just made me tired every day, because that's how I was feeling. I was just constantly tired, no motivation, and pretty blah. So over those last 2 years, I have had an enormous amount of business growth, probably an even bigger amount of personal growth that's come from all that. And I'm getting paid for my advisory work. So I was doing advisory work when I was a bookkeeper, but it was just bundled in with everything else. It was just part of what I did. Now there's that clear separation, I suppose, between the bookkeeping and the advisory, and I get paid for the advisory work. So, over designing that business that I wanted to achieve for my clients, I managed to build myself a more profitable business.
I love that. And then we've just got a couple of questions. So I'm going to deviate to those questions first and then come back to you, Caroline, if that's okay. One of the questions is, are you all BAS agents or tax agents to be offering advice? You are all BAS agents, correct? But in terms of being a profit first professional, that isn't a requirement, because the advisory is very different to tax advice or financial planning advice and that sort of thing. So just to give a bit of clarification there. We also have another question, which is, how did the clients react to Profit First concept, and how did you take the Profit First concept and make it an advisory service and clearly separate that service? Well, that's a big question. Who'd like to, maybe Caroline, would you like to tackle that one first?
Well, because I've always been advisor in my prior career and this career, I couldn't help myself. And so I was always handing out free advice at bookkeeping rates advice to my clients, which is another one of the reasons I chose to move to a different client base, because my bookkeeping clients were not going, I didn't feel like I wanted to have that conversation about charging them consulting rates for stuff that I'd previously been just including in my service. So having decided I didn't want to work with them anyway, it was a good move. So I just have different services. They come to me if they want to have profit first advice or any kind of consulting advice, then I quote them a price that's consulting rates. If they want bookkeeping, then we do a 12-month contract, and my bookkeeper does it. 12-year contract would be good, but that's how I handle it. They're just two different services and I actually have a third service of Thrive Factor profiling. So they're all separate services, and a client may choose all or some.
I love that. And I think one other thing to note is that you get to decide as an advisor what it is that you want to do. And the question highlights how we are ingrained to seek out external information to give us the answer, when in actual fact, Caroline has decided that she wants to have separate services. We've got other Profit First professionals where you have to do the bookkeeping and the Profit First and all the things that they offer all together, or they're not the provider for you because that suits their business model. And what I think the biggest thing, and I'd love to hear from whoever would like to jump in, is that as part of moving into that advisory role is you get to decide what works for your business. You get to look at, you know, what do I actually want to do with my clients? Are these clients the clients that I want to work with? You know, can I just tolerate them in bookkeeping? And as Caroline said, you know, but I would never want to deal with them in consulting, and vice versa. You know, it is really stepping into that. I am an advisor and I'm going to offer the services that suit my clients and how I work and my strengths. So yeah, that is a roundabout way of answering that question, but I would, you know, love to hear from anyone else. If you'd like to at all give an input around that, feel free.
Even though the three of us on here are bookkeepers, as agents, profit first professionals, I'm positive that what we offer our clients varies completely. You know, so somebody that goes with Kim, their advisory journey would be different from what I would offer, and same with Caroline. And like you say, Laura, it is very much a choose your own adventure type thing. And that is kind of one of the things I struggled with a little bit at the start is, as a bookkeeper, we like this little checklist and we like to know how things are going to be. And moving outside that box at times can be a little bit difficult. So that was actually one of the things I struggled with a little bit.
How'd you overcome it?
Perseverance. And support from the whole Profit First family. I don't know. I just saw that what everybody else was offering, even if they were in the same industry, was the same. Was different. And again, just spending that time deciding what I wanted and how I wanted to work with my clients, and how I want to work with my clients is going to be different from Kim and Caroline.
Yeah, I love that. Did anyone else, Kim, did you want to jump in with anything?
Yeah, I'll just sort of echo what Tracy's just said, and Caroline as well. I think everyone gets to be their own unique them, and it's really great to go through that journey of working out what you want from your business and how you want your business to serve you, and what value you get from doing the things that you love. Because just doing compliance all the time, or just doing the bookkeeping all the time, might fulfill you for a while, but then you get to that point where not in case of emergency, but in case of holiday, what happens? So someone has to be there to pick up those pieces. So if you're doing the do all the time, there's no escape from that. So finding how you can be a business owner and overseeing things is a really important journey, and it's one that doesn't happen overnight. Like, it is a constant evolution in business of going through this. There'll be days that you hate your business. There'll be years. I had years where I hated my business and just went, I just don't see the end with this. And Katrina was a big part of that as well, helping me through that, going into separating out what my pricing was and separating out advisory isn't just bookkeeping rates, and going through that process was a big mind shift for me. And then going into, obviously, Profit First Australia and doing that with my clients and pricing that. And each step is another step closer. But I don't know if we ever get to the end. It's going to continually evolve with you. So I think that will always change, and don't compare yourself to other businesses. I think there was a long time where, being around a lot of bookkeepers and BAS agents, we're comparing each other's businesses and how we do things, and everyone does it differently, as Tracy said. So it's important to know what you want from your business, not just because that's what someone else does.
It's awesome to be able to set your business up to be able to have those choices.
Absolutely, because when you have choices, you don't feel trapped. When you feel like you're stuck in it, you feel like you're trapped and you can't see outside of it. And there is so much more that we can offer as bookkeepers and BAS agents, that sometimes we just get stuck in the doing. And we can offer massive value and impact so many lives with the work that we do. Like, we're really important people. We can give a lot of value to a lot of people, and the ripple effect of us doing that well means that businesses thrive, means that businesses get to employ more people, that they are then working with their profits to be able to contribute back to society, because they might decide to put a percentage of their profits back into the community. There's so many things that we can do just from that tiny little step of us standing up and not just doing the do.
Yeah, that's really well said, and it's bringing that clarity to exactly what it is that you want to do. And you might choose not to move forward in advisory, but setting the business up to be able to clearly think about what is my next step.
Absolutely. And I think that was a total mic drop moment there, Kim. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. We do have another question, which is, did you manage to add on advisory to your existing bookkeeping clients, or did you find that you were attracting new clients that actually wanted the service, i.e. was Profit First a value add straight away, or did you need to find a new client base to serve advisory to? Before I get someone to answer that, I'd actually love to share my experience. So for those of you that don't know me, I run a bookkeeping business and have done forever. And I started out by myself. I now have a team of 12 people and I run multiple businesses, one of them being Profit First Australia. And the biggest thing for me was that we are scared to tap into our existing clients because we already assume that they're going to say no. And I was very much in that position myself when I first decided that I wanted to do more and I wanted to move into advisory, and that was my very clear next step. And once I realized that, I was afraid of asking the question because I'd already assumed I'd get a no, then things completely changed. And to give you insight to the Profit First certification process, one of that is to have 2 beta clients, which means you need to talk to your existing clients and offer them Profit First as a service so that you can test it, measure it, make an impact, and show people what you can do. And so whilst that's a learning curve in itself, it's probably one of the best steps in that process of becoming an advisor using Profit First as one of the tools. And a number of Profit First professionals manage to get their existing clients using Profit First. Others find that it's more that they identify that they don't want those clients as consulting clients, or that they've been putting up with rubbish for a really long period of time, and so they attract new clients. But that's sort of my moment about that. I'd love to sort of hear, maybe Caroline, you could give your experience on whether it was an add-on with existing or you had to find new clients.
Well, for me, my beta client, I worked with one of my existing bookkeeping clients, and he seemed to be very interested in it. But the accountant that we also work closely with and is the company secretary just got extremely toey about the whole thing, like I was stepping on his toes, and it simply wasn't worth the hassle of trying to push it, because he would always work against me if I tried that, and don't need that. So for me, it was getting new clients, but interestingly, I had people coming to me for bookkeeping services that found me on Profit First because they had implemented Profit First themselves, and they wanted a bookkeeper who understood Profit First, because so many people look at the number of bank accounts and just complain, and they don't know what to do with it. So I have to be very careful with those ones to make it clear that, yes, we're just doing bookkeeping. We're not giving you any advice. If you want advice about Profit First, that's a different service, and it will have a different price attached to it. But mostly the people coming in are new clients, and sometimes they want bookkeeping assistance and sometimes they don't. But it's still, it's a very rewarding thing. I had a client in Townsville, and you're not limited. I'm in Perth and I'm dealing with a client in Townsville. And she was an accountant turned yoga teacher, and her practice was wiped out in the Townsville floods. And then she came to me to sort her out her Profit First just before COVID hit. And then she got wiped out again, of course, because yoga teachers had to shut down during COVID. And she kept morphing and doing, online things and changing how her business ran. And last time I heard from her, she had almost achieved her goal of having 6 months of expenses in her vault, so that if any kind of disaster like that happened, she would be set for 6 months. And that's like huge, because she'd been wiped out twice, and she was obviously determined it was never going to happen to her again.
Wow, is all I can say to that. And that is the power of deciding to move into advisory. But you can't achieve that without first gaining the clarity, as Katrina pointed out, but also having the right support and systems in place. We do have a couple of other questions here. One of them is, how much are you able to charge on a consultancy rate as a Profit First professional? That's a question that is, how long is a piece of string? And again, it comes back to identifying how you want to work. And what I would rather do is talk about what consulting means, and, hear from Kim and Tracy and, even Katrina, your own experience as well, as to what you charge around your different offerings. We have minimums that we recommend within Profit First for specific Profit First stuff, but consulting and advisory is a lot more than Profit First. Profit First is definitely an amazing tool. It is definitely something that makes a huge difference in businesses, but advisory, if we zoom out a little bit more, is a number of other things too. So I would love to kind of hand over and hear from whoever would like to go ahead and give you'd share some insider information around what you do and charge.
Well, whether I'm working one-on-one with someone, I'm currently working towards setting up a training course that is going to launch sometime before Christmas. But I work with a 5-step process, and Profit First doesn't come into that until step 4. So we have to establish a whole heap of things about the person and the business, and what the goals and what they're trying to sell, and making sure everything is feasible before it's even, from my perspective, before it's even worth working out percentages and such like, because we want to actually make sure that this is going to work, not just go through a process of putting money aside in different accounts and just continuing the business as it is. I'm looking for ways I can improve the business and grow it and make it more profitable, not just say, okay, this is how we are and this is how much we're spending on expenses right now, and we're going to separate things out like that. I think there's a lot more that we can offer to people by examining their motivations and their goals before we actually start doing the Profit First work.
And where did you learn that? Like, what made you realize that?
Partly 30 years as a consultant before I started bookkeeping, but also I read Femke Hogamer's books about the profitable plan, and that was inspired me. So she's the head of the Profit First in the Netherlands. So her book was very interesting, and I've taken the knowledge from that. I've taken the knowledge from my past experience, also Profit First and bookkeeping and pure bookkeeping, and I've just pulled it all together in a way that makes sense for me and the client base that I'm working for.
With, as you said, Caroline, with advisory, it's around having conversations with your clients and working out what they're valuing, what they want, what are their outcomes, and it's not something that they might even know right at the start. It's just communicating with them about, you know, where they're wanting to take their business. Where do they want to be in, you know, in 12 months' time? You know, what do they want from the figures that you are providing them? What type of advisory work? We're trying to work out what type of advisory service that we can offer them. They may just want compliance. If they are wanting to grow their business, if they are wanting somebody else to help them and think outside of, you know, they're personally attached to it. So that often you're thinking irrationally because you're so attached to your numbers that you need that extra person to look from the outside to put some, you know, rationale on it, or, you know, thinking outside of the box, you know, giving options, like, you know, Kim mentioned in the mentoring space. It's like you are mentoring, coaching businesses around, you know, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? What do you want from this business? Are you happy just being an employee in this business? Do you want to double the size? Do you want to franchise? Do you want to, you know, have, you know, more staff? Do you want to go on holidays 6 weeks of the year? You know, what are the things that you're wanting to do? And then maybe have those conversations of how you can help them get there. What numbers do they need to provide the outcomes that they want? So, and you won't know that until you have those conversations. And then you certainly don't, you know, I wouldn't recommend going into advisory to say it's $200 an hour. You want to be putting together a package that makes sense for them to provide the outcome of what they want to use those figures for. So it's starting with a conversation. Nobody goes into advisory knowing exactly what you're going to say, what they're going to say, what the outcome is, what the price is going to be. And that's why, you know, it's great to have a support system like Profit First to be able to help you have those conversations as well, and work out what those services are going to be.
I'd love to jump in on that. The idea of the conversation is key, and that the package then gets put together based on the outcomes of the client. Tracy, I'd like to call on you, because this is something that probably does your head in a bit, if I'm honest, in that respect. But you managed to do it really well. I'd love to hear your insights as to, like, how do you approach advisory? What do you do?
This has absolutely done my head in over the past 2 years. Like Katrina said, you can't just put that $200 an hour mark on it. What I ended up doing was I actually took on Laura's advice and I designed my client journey. So I designed out how I was going to work with my client and the steps to get there, which included, as Katrina said, all the goal setting, you know, what they actually wanted out of their business. From there, when I developed my pricing packages, I've pretty much given them complete access to me. My package isn't based on 1 meeting a month or 2 meetings a month, or, you know, and they don't need to run for an hour or however long. Pretty much they can just access me whenever they want, whenever they have a question. They need recurring meetings, they can book them in whenever they feel like. And my pricing is pretty much just at the moment, yeah, because I still struggle with this. So at the moment it is pretty much just one price per month. And I'm working at the moment on a lower priced offering, so that because I really want to work with, I really want to help those businesses that turn over $80,000 to $100,000 a month.
A month or year?
A month would be fantastic. No, sorry, a year. So those smaller startup type businesses are the ones that I really want to help. I think they can see the most benefit from, I think it's from my journey. So my pure bookkeeping journey, you know, implementing systems and processes into their business, working out their costs on employees, understanding their financials. So that's why they're the people that I really want to help. I made assumptions, which Laura hates me doing. But I don't feel comfortable charging them the higher end package that I would with my clients that turn over, say, $500,000 a year. So at the moment, I'm in the process of yet again reviewing that and just bringing in like a lower price point package where they'll still have access to me, but they won't have as much access to me. I'm not there whenever they need. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. And just jumping on the pricing is I think that we always attach pricing to our self-worth, and I call bullshit right now on that. It's not about that. What it is about is understanding the outcomes of your clients. So if you are working with a startup, as Tracy, you know, has explained, that is where she wants to concentrate, their need for the level of advisory and support is not nearly as great as someone that's got a really complex setup, has, you know, particular outcomes that they're wanting in the millions, that require multiple people, multiple spinning plates, multiple cogs in the system, and that sort of thing. So therefore the pricing is going to be at the lower price point. It's got nothing to do with you as the advisor. It's to do with the outcome and what your clients need from you at that point in time. And so pricing is a huge question that we get everywhere, and I'm sure Katrina gets it all the time when she talks with people and when she's mentoring people as well. And I think that if we can take ourselves out of it and, you know, even just define the different things that you think your client needs based on the conversations you've had, and the pricing becomes completely separate to you and it's not as emotive. And people pay because they understand what they're getting. And, you know, to use my own experience as an example is that I work with people from startup to multi-million-dollar businesses, and even the startups pay well. And what I mean by that is the startups will pay for a, you know, mentoring package with me that is a monthly fee that, you know, like, can they afford it? Of course they can, because the outcomes are what we are working towards, so that it becomes an investment in the growth of their business, in the outcomes that they've been unable to achieve by themselves. And the reason I've just given you my experience is that I go on a bit of a rant when it comes to pricing, because it is something that, you know, that I see people attaching to themselves, and it's not about that. But thank you, Tracy, so much for sharing your experience. And it's not easy because we're changing our whole mindset around it. But yeah, so thank you for that. I am aware of how long we've been going for, and this is something that we could talk about for, you know, days, as I'm sure you all feel the same way. What I would love to do is wrap up with the particular question, and that is, what would be your top tip for the bookkeepers listening, looking to grow their business? And let's start with you, Katrina.
Okay. Loaded question. So like, where do you start? So for those wanting to grow their business, is identifying what they do want for their business, because often we'll talk with bookkeepers that say, I'm watching other bookkeepers grow, put staff on, build, you know, move into offices, and they start to go down that travels, but it's not actually what they're passionate about. So make sure if you're, you know, going up a ladder, to make sure it's on the right wall, that you're not chasing somebody else's dream. So understanding your own vision for your own business. And then as you are growing, systemize everything. So get everything out of your head so that somebody else can repeat those actions. You don't need to be there every day to be able to actually get the work done. So make sure the whole, everything is out of your head in checklists and manuals and little Loom videos and, all of those things. And then make sure that you've got a system that will review the work that is being done by the staff. So we're putting on quality work, paying them well, charging our clients, good fees, so we've got a profitable business. So just keeping that all in mind as you are growing, and then, identifying what it is exactly that you want to grow towards, but putting the systems in place that you don't have to keep coming back and redoing things. It's, everything you do is for the future benefit of your business. So just think about what that future business is, to put those activities in place to make sure that it's for the future benefit of the business.
Love that. Thanks so much, Katrina. Kim, what's your top tip?
I think Katrina really hit the nail on the head with everything that she just said then. I think comparisonitis is probably the biggest issue when you're looking at growing your business, is comparing yourself to those other businesses that you're seeing. And it's so important to make sure that you're growing in the area that you want to grow. So important. And I think on top of that is having your own cheer squad. Business can be a really lonely place to be in. And sometimes it's too hard to discuss this with the people living in your house or your significant other. And making sure you've got that support with you. So whether it be part of a bookkeeping community, a Bass Agent community, Xero community, having a mentor, that reach out so that you've got the support for when those moments that you get stuck, or just to help work through items, and keep yourself sane, because it's a big journey to grow your business, and especially when you're still in the process of doing the work and growing at the same time. You can feel like you're going in circles. So that's probably what I would suggest.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. What about you, Caroline?
For me, it is systemize early, because it is so hard to put systems in place when you're flat out doing the work. And that's when you go, oh, I should have done this sooner. But the other thing also is to recognize what you're good at and what you're not good at. So it took me years to hire somebody. Eventually, Katrina put me onto an HR consultant who did most of the work for me. All I had to do was have a discussion with her about what I was looking for. I read maybe 3 resumes that she put forward to me, and I did the final interview. And that got me over the hurdle. But all the other steps in the recruitment process were just things that I absolutely hated doing and procrastinated on and just didn't do. And that process was so easy. I have the perfect person working for me now. So that was where I struggled. And so outsource the things that you struggle with.
Love that. Thanks so much. Tracy.
I'm pretty much going to just echo what everybody else has just said. With the systems, don't feel like you need to do it all at once. It's okay just to bite off a little bit and do it a little bit at a time. And my other one is surround yourself with supportive, like-minded people that have your back. You don't need to feel like you're doing it alone. There's plenty of other people out there that have been through similar situations, and surround yourself with them.
Awesome. I love that. And my little tip that I'd love to just throw in to the ring is don't try and reinvent the wheel. I see a lot of people try and reinvent the wheel when it comes to pivoting or growing or stepping into that ideal, and instead use the proven people, systems, places, things. And Pure Bookkeeping is a perfect version of systems that you could absolutely tap into. Why reinvent the wheel there? And the same with advisory. Profit First is a tool that works. You have all of the framework at your disposal. You have one-on-one and group support, and you've got all of the things that allow you to step into that. And yes, you can grow and you can add things on and you can change and you can modify it to who you are and what your business is. But don't try and reinvent the wheel. That would be my biggest tip. Now, we're going to wrap up now. Thank you all so much for being here. I've absolutely loved this conversation. We've got another panel in 2 weeks' time. We'll also chuck into the comments for anyone that wants to maybe, have a conversation about pure bookkeeping or what that system might look like or what advisory services are like. There'll be a link there to book in with Pure Bookkeeping if you want to find out more about the Profit First Professionals Framework and membership. We'll have a link there as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment on this post and I'm sure we'll jump in and answer that. Katrina, did you want to say anything before we wrap up?
What I'd recommend is do it sooner than later. So whether it's systemizing, get it done before you start to grow too big. And if it's around advisory, skill up with, like Profit First. Get yourself skilled up before you get too deep into advisory, because it's easier to start from the right foot rather than backtracking and trying to work out, changing packages and services and systems. So yeah, get it set up sooner than later.
Awesome. Sound advice. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm sure we'll have some brilliant conversations around this at another time. Appreciate your time and have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Laura. See you, ladies.